Good day, Dr. Cornett. I just finished my paper on the research dissemination process, and I thought I should could present it to you online. It's the strategy for the dissemination of research results at a fictitious company, as you would know. So here is my table of contents. I will talk about the structure of the dissemination process. I'll talk about the overall dissemination strategy, in which I will include project objective and project goals. I will talk about the dissemination tools, which will include technological tools, print and media tools, and I will conclude this paper by talking about the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the project. So here is the structure of the dissemination process for this paper, which is figure 1 in my written report. So the dissemination process is going to take the format of an action research, which would be somewhat cyclical and would solve a real life problem at the organization. It begins with a review. Each stage of the dissemination process will start with a review of the previous dissemination strategy and will develop different objectives, determine target audience, and then determine dissemination methods, prepare messages, and then prepare materials and conduct the dissemination, and will finally evaluate the dissemination strategy for that phase. So I would quickly go through the different phases on this figure and make some quick explanation on them. So the first step in the dissemination process will include a review of the previous dissemination strategies. This will provide the research team with the necessary information that will enable the team to meet the required objectives. So each time we want to start a different phase of the dissemination, we have to review what happened in the previous stages and see if we are going in line with the objectives that we want to meet. Secondly, we will do a revision of the dissemination objectives. For each stage, the objectives may be different for each stage, but the overall objectives for the whole research project would not be different. So we have sub-objectives which will then meet the bigger objectives. So the research objectives will depend on the review in the previous step, and they must be in line with the organization's objectives. Third, we will determine the target audience for that phase of the dissemination. The target audience may be different for different phases of the dissemination, or they may be the same. And the fourth, we will select the dissemination methods depending on the target audience. We will choose the channels that will meet the best results for that target audience. In the fifth step, we will prepare the dissemination messages that could include oral presentations, written reports, video lectures, depending on the target audience. For example, if we were going to disseminate to the academic community, it would be best to do this through like journal articles and so on, or books. 6, we will prepare the dissemination materials. Dissemination materials are different from dissemination messages in that these are the materials that will be used during the dissemination process, such as software. If we have to do video conferencing, then we have to know what software we are going to use for this video conferencing. We have to be ready with the internet connection to make sure that there is no problem with internet during our video conference. The seventh part will be to conduct the dissemination itself, which will be the process of doing what we really were planning to do, and we do it according to the plan. It has to stick to the plan without any deviation. And finally, we will evaluate the dissemination strategy for that stage. This evaluation is important in that when the next phase of the dissemination process will begin, then we will have to look back and review these previous disseminations, and these reviews would depend on the evaluation that we did at the end of each phase of the dissemination. So, what are the objectives of these projects that I am trying to put forth? I aim to develop a research dissemination strategy by using communication processes that transcend the basic understanding of what we understand by scientific communication. In order to meet these objectives, team members must have an in-depth understanding of the various communication styles and how different research communication methods affect comprehension by the audience or audiences. And this dissemination strategy, therefore, must take into consideration the fact that each and every communication medium is different and it affects the audience differently. Project goals. The dissemination strategy will aim at ensuring effective dissemination through varying communication media. We will use varying communication media to ensure effective dissemination so that it can benefit the company in the long and in the short term. These different dissemination methods, therefore, must include short-term as well as long-term communication channels, as we know. So what tools shall we use for the dissemination? We categorize the tools into first technological tools, which will include social media. Social media could include like a Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. These social media will be used like we can post material into this social media. Like, for example, Facebook could use, we could have a Facebook channel for the project itself, in which we post photos of what is happening in the dissemination process or in the research process. YouTube, we could produce videos like what I'm doing right now and explain, either we just explain the research process or what our research findings, or we could produce videos to talk about other things while having links to our research, some sort of a marketing strategy. We could use Twitter as well to communicate directly with some people, some audience. Company website or the project could have its own website, and we would plan to have a Web 2.0 website. Web 2.0 here means a website in which we can the user of the website can interact with the website, not just reading. So the user of the website is just not just taking information from the website, but they can interact. They can also put information into the website. For example, a website like Wikipedia can be edited. Pages can be edited by the users themselves, and a website like YouTube, users can upload videos into these websites. So we will have this kind of websites, and to get people to know our websites, we will have to embed the links to our websites in the social media sites that we talked about before. So, for example, if I produce a video that is educating people on the health benefits of exercise, I could then have a link that will go to my website to know more about this, which is the research that we are carrying out. So there will be a link which people can click, and then they will go back to my website and learn more from it. We could have presenter hardware and software. For example, for oral presentations, we will have projectors, we will have document cameras and pointers to help us with the presentation. Some other tools could be mobile applications. We would develop free mobile applications to promote the project or the company and build our brand image. We could have a mobile app that offers free communication to everybody, but would have the name of our project or the company in it, so that people, while communicating, they would be getting to know about our research indirectly. Audiovisual content would include like DVDs and CDs, in which like after any dissemination, each dissemination phase, for example, after we do oral presentations, we can distribute these CDs or DVDs to our audience, and they would be able to view this at their own time, anytime when they get home, and this will be another way to send the message to them still. We would also use tools like print media, scientific publications. Like I was saying, these media tools may not be used or be used at each phase of the dissemination, but we can use them. We can select different media depending on the target audience that we want to meet, or depending on the dissemination channel as well. So scientific publications would target the academic community. If we are targeting the academic community in one phase of our dissemination, then we will use scientific publications. However, I do think that this is a must. We must do this at every phase of the dissemination, because this is research, and research is communicating. We have to communicate scientifically our research in some way. We'll have newsletters in which we have factual information about our project and the dissemination stages, and so we will post these bulletins on bulletin boards, maybe in some universities or within the cities, in some libraries in the cities, and so on, so that people can see, and then they would find out more information about our project. We would also use mass media, knowing that journalists do communicate a lot to the public these days, so we could host some briefing and contact newspaper editors, which to inform them about our research projects, and then they would be able to pass the information to the masses. Finally, how would this project be implemented, monitored, and evaluated? These steps in the implementation process, monitoring and evaluation, I simply took it from the World Health Organization, which they informed about how to implement a research project. So we can see it starts with the contextualization of the challenges, in which we identify the problems within the company. It's also a cyclical process, which is an action research process. And so when we identify the problems, then we would be looking forward to solving those problems. Step 2, develop a proposal. Step 3, we plan and conduct a project. Step 4, analyze and present data. Step 5, disseminate research findings. Actually, the whole of my paper, which is on dissemination, is on step 5 of this. So step 5 in itself is cyclical, and then the whole implementation is also cyclical. So Step 6 is monitor and evaluate the project, which is this stage that we are talking about. So effectively, this implementation process is to be conducted in the company as a whole, not by our team only. Thank you.